What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Business of Strength podcast. I'll be your host today, Dan Goodman, and I am joined by none other than Vince Gabriele today. Vince has acted as a trusted advisor and become a friend over the years. He's been advising the Team VH crew since 2018 and has been somebody behind the scenes helping us really align and focus on the things that matter the most in our business from an unbiased view. And you think about coaching, as so many coaches listen to this show, we're in the business of helping people realize their fullest potential. I can honestly say that Vince has helped Joe, myself, and the rest of our team realize our full potential as a business and continue to push us to reach new heights. So without further ado, please enjoy the episode with Vince Gabriele. Here we go. Uncle Vinny, welcome to the Business of Strength podcast. For the few listeners that might not know you, please do us a favor and bring us up to speed on who Vince Gabriele is.
What's up, Dan Goodman? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I started, I started as a personal trainer in 2003. Actually, it's when I met Vanessa. So I met Vanessa in 2003, my wife, and I was, you know, training kids on fields, pro athletes, kind of like you guys doing everything, adults, athletes. Did that for about 5 years and realized I wanted more from life. I wanted to have a family. And so I moved to back to New Jersey. I was in San Diego at the time. I moved back to New Jersey and opened my first gym in 2008. And we've been still going strong ever since that day. And along the way, I got the opportunity to help some people out with their business. I was kind of always a student of business through the beginning. I was pretty much self-taught through reading books and courses and all of that. And because of the success we were having in business, I started coaching people one-on-one and doing some basic stuff. And then in 2018, I started the group that you're in, the SPF Mastermind. And now that's become my full-time gig, my full-time job. While the gym kind of still runs, my time every day is spent helping gym owners grow their business. So that's kind of, there's a bunch of other things in there, but that's the short version of the
The
very,
Cliff
very,
Notes.
very long story. Yeah.
Before we get into the SPF, really, like, were people asking you unsolicited, just, hey, like, you're at events and people are asking you how you're acquiring customers? And how did that come to be? Did you always think that you wanted to coach other fitness professionals, maximize their businesses, or was it something that kind of naturally materialized?
Is natural. And I know you're buddies with him, but there's a guy named Zach Evanesh who
Yeah.
he's a Jersey guy like me, and I ended up going to one of his events just as a student. Um, Actually, if you want to see a funny video of me, there's uh there's a video of me flipping a tractor tire at Zach's gym. Uh, it's actually pretty funny. Are we
Maybe I
allowed
could
to
put it in the show notes.
are we allowed to curse on here?
Of course.
Oh, so there's this. There's like it's just like Zach's gym, right? And there's this like old car that was like looked like it hadn't moved in 20 years, and I'm flipping the tire and I'm getting it close to the car, and you hear Zach on the video goes, "Put it on top of that fucked up car." Um, but so I went to that seminar and I got talking with Zach and we became, kind of friends going back and forth. And he brought me in to speak at one of his masterminds because he knew I had some stuff going on. And I think it was called like, dude, I still have people today. This was like, I mean, before I was even thought about doing any, because I literally just came to help Zach out. He's like, hey, can you talk about what you're doing at your gym? And I don't know if I ever even told the story. This is actually pretty funny.
Nice.
But it was called like HTK, How to Kick Ass or something like that. And I spoke in front of like 15 people or something like that. And then it kind of snowballed from there, I think after that video kind of came out, there's other people started to reach out. I ended up having a couple mini seminars at my gym, and then kind of the rest is history. But that is how it started. I tell you, I credit Zach a lot for some of the things that have happened to me in my life, because he was the pioneer. I'm not like a trailblazer like he is. Like he's a trailblazer. He's a guy that like he was doing this stuff when no one was doing it, and we kind of stood on his shoulder. So I have to give a lot of credit to Zach.
100%. 100%. I mean, I remember being in high school watching those YouTube videos in 2002, 2003. And, Zach busting his chops now. I mean, he's speaking at the Arnold with Randy Couture in 2003. I was still in high school. It's
That's
crazy.
amazing.
So it's
Yeah.
cool. But, obviously, I know we had the Cliff Notes version of your career, but knowing you and you being a mentor and friend, I know there's been a lot of adversity that has led to your growth over the years, both personally, professionally, um, and you using those as fuel for business breakthroughs. Can you be a little bit more specific
Yeah.
where there's been a moment in time that has led to a massive business breakthrough?
So I have a couple origin stories that kind of tell this tale. The first one was we had the first couple years in business, I did pretty well. And I did pretty well in spite of myself. I did pretty well because I was a good relationship guy. I was a community person, meaning I grew up in the area, so I had a lot of contacts and stuff. And we also had the benefit of kind of being a unicorn of a business. Like, we opened like kind of that pre-CrossFit era where nobody had turf inside.
Right.
Like when I opened my gym with turf, people would walk in, they're like, how do you water the grass? Like, what? How do you like that's like it was like and have the prowlers and kettlebells. Like I was a complete unicorn when I opened. Now, like everyone's got that stuff, right?
Right.
Um, so I had the benefit of that, I had the benefit of being in the community, and I did well until I didn't. And I didn't do well in the beginning because I didn't know how to manage money, and I didn't know how to market, and I didn't know how to sell, and I didn't know how to create systems. I literally just knew how to train people really well. And we grew a business, but I was burning out at the time and I was making bad decisions and I was spending money that I shouldn't have been spending. And I ran into a serious problem where I think back to the conversation, and you know this person, but I was sitting in the parking lot with Mike Waldron, who was my best friend at the time, or still is my best friend. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. He had just come to the gym. We were working out, and I told him, I was like, bro, I got no money in my checking account. Like I'm broke. Like I got credit card bills. Like I got a tax bill coming. This was October, so it was when tax bill was coming, usually October, and that was like the line. Kind of two things happened. Mike started helping me with financials,
Hmm.
and he started teaching me about money. He started teaching me how to read a profit and loss. I didn't know what a profit and loss statement was at the time.
And he was doing
Right.
investment banking at the
Yes, he was
time.
not.
Yeah.
So what he's doing now, we're talking about Mike Waldron, who runs a business called Carmo Valley Financial, and it's basically a CFO, a robo CFO for gyms. Like that's what he does full time. At the time, he worked at a hedge fund, so he
Hmm.
wasn't even like this. So I was client zero for Mike Waldron because of this situation. So it birthed an education in business for me, but it also birthed his company and
Well,
his
thank you,
business.
because
Yeah.
Mike's our trusted
Oh,
resource
game
now
changer.
as well. Yeah,
Is
big time.
is a game changer. So I had that conversation with Mike, and he started took over my books. He started helping me with stuff. But I also kind of was really frustrated and had a conversation with my dad. And I was just like so upset that I like had run out of money, and I was so upset that I was just like, oh my God. And I went to my dad and I started asking, my dad was a finance guy. And I went to my dad and I was like, hey, what would it look like if I got into the finance world? And I was like, what if I like, started to come work for you? Like, what would I need to do? What would I need to learn? And he kind of looked back at me and he kind of half smiled. And he's like, I don't think you should do that. He's like, you've been in business for 2 years. This is your first smack in the face. He's like, this is where you learn about like what you're made of.
Mhm.
And what you need to do and what you haven't done is like you've proved that you can be a great trainer and a great relationship person. But what you haven't proved is you haven't proved you've been a good business person. And that was like the conversation. It's like, he's like, you can come work for me. He's like, you ain't gonna make shit. He's like, but you can come work for me. But the reality is what you should probably do is go out and learn how to run a business and then come back. And if you can't do it after that, then I'll give you a job or whatever. Like, and it was like that moment where it shifted. Like all the training books became business books.
Mhm.
And it was that conversation and that adversity, as you the word you say, that turned me on to all the different things that I've read and all the different things that I've taught you guys. I am 100% self-taught entrepreneur. Like I'm 100% self-taught through books, through courses, through everything, through mentors and everything like that. 100% self-taught. And I look at that adversity as the catapult that enabled me to learn about business. And crazy that here we are 10, more than 10 years later, that is now my job, teaching people about business when I had to learn about it that way.
So when you had that conversation with your dad, and he basically was, "Hey, you need to get refocused and realigned with what needs to happen." Has it ever happened again along the way where you needed to get realigned and refocused
It
to
hasn't
that
happened.
extent?
It hasn't happened again in terms of I was in that dire position of like thinking I was going to go do something else. That was the only time where I was just like, I don't know what this fitness industry thing is for me. Right. But yes, there certainly have been times. I tell you, the challenge of having a gym, still owning a gym, um, having a consulting business, owning a marketing agency, owning a sports performance license. It's a lot, right? And so the challenge was the shifting of focus and the constant shifting. And I know you probably have, felt some of this with a lot of the things that you have going on, but it's a skill to be able to do that. It's a skill to be able to, and a lot of it comes back to how good can you get at data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have all these things going on, you have to be good at looking at things from a what is actually reality versus what is actually emotion. And I've talked to you guys this many times. I was like, emotion is the most toxic poison in business. And if all of a sudden I feel like the gym's not doing well, or I feel like this is not doing well, you're screwed because you're just running your business by, the chemical hormone dumps that you have going up
Mm-hmm.
and down your body, and it ain't gonna work. So you have to get at that point. I had to learn. All right, I had to know how we're doing by how we're actually really doing,
Right.
by looking at leading indicators, by looking at financials and doing all that stuff.
I mean, it's funny, it comes back to when we were recently together in Michigan at Zing Train. After the day was over, I asked you a focus question. That's what I asked you. You probably don't, it was like an off the cuff thing, but I was like, Vince, like, we're in a million meetings. Like, how do I reclaim focus? And that's exactly the answer that you gave me.
Yeah.
You have to go based on data, and if you're doing well, which you are, like maybe you shouldn't change much. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. So it leads me to the next point. It's something that has always really captured my attention. You're the first person that I heard say it. I don't know. I think it's maybe a Tony Robbins, something you learned with Tony, but it was a business can never outrun the psychology of its leader or its owner. How how does that apply to somebody that is a fitness professional or small business owner? Where like what does that mean for a fitness professional specifically?
Yeah. I think that there's this well, John Maxwell, it is a Tony Robbins quote, but it kind of links into some of the Maxwell stuff. But Maxwell has a line of like the leadership law of the lid, and that is that a business will never outrun the level of leadership of the owner or the founder. right? And so if the owner gets to here, the leadership will come to here, the organization will never get beyond that. And so what it's very important for whoever's running the company to be continuing to elevate their level of performance, not just from a leadership standpoint, from a skill standpoint. Now, I wrote a book, and actually you talked about the book in one of our posts the other day. I wrote a book called The Four Stages
Hmm.
of Fitness Business Success, and it basically outlines, four different stages that a fitness business, can go through. And each stage, there's another skill set to learn. So it's not like you get done with one stage and you're good. When you get one, then going to the next stage creates a whole new problem and a whole new skill set that you need to learn, right? And so when you get to the point of, when you're starting out, you have to be able to understand that you need to get to a critical mass of customers to be able to hire somebody, to be able to have the money to afford to hire somebody. And then when you get to that point, then all of a sudden you're like, all right, now I have people working for me and I know how to lead and manage people. And then you have to learn how to do that. And then you get to that point where you're now not doing everything and you now need to learn how to lead other people to lead other people and to build an organization very much like you guys have built and done a phenomenal job at your business, where your job is not necessarily like talking to every client. Your job is leading people like Big Mike,
Hmm.
to be able to do a good job, to lead the other trainers and stuff like that. So you get to that third stage and you build, a real organization and a real company. And that takes skill sets, that takes different levels of things. And it's funny, the questions that you ask me today are not the same questions that you asked me in 2018, when we started working together. So as you evolve, you seek new levels of knowledge. Um, but at the end of the day, the quote from Tony is the actual quote is the number one chokehold on a business is the psychology of the owner. That is the quote that I always talk about from Tony. And here's the thing. Um, if you're a mess, your business is going to be a mess too. And so you kind of got to go through this period of like fixing your own shit and knowing what's going on inside of your own head. And when you're thinking with your emotions, kind of like similar to what we said before, when your emotions are all over the place and all of a sudden somebody quits and you go, crazy and you go think everyone's going to quit after that. Um, you're not going to run your business effectively and the organization's going to do that. So one of the things that you must be able to do and must be able to improve to get better at is to control your emotions. It's a skill that I still work on. And my favorite book that I've ever read on parenting is called Scream Free Parenting. And their number one premise of that book is lowest heart rate wins.
Hmm.
And if you can maintain a low heart rate and we talked about one of the reasons why I failed in the Grand Canyon. I failed in the Grand Canyon because I couldn't keep my heart rate down. Not from a physiological standpoint, really, but just like I couldn't handle the amount of uncertainty that was happening in the canyon. I was thrown into a situation where I was just like, this is too much. This is too much. And I didn't make it. But if you move me to business, right? And all of a sudden, if I got a phone call from one of my trainers that says, hey, so and so got hurt at the gym, we're getting sued. My heart rate doesn't really change that much. And my, all right, we've been there before. This
Hmm.
happened before. And we'll call the insurance company and the insurance company will handle it. And maybe we'll have to show up to a lawyer's office once in a while, but we'll handle it and we'll be fine.
Hmm.
My heart rate doesn't change very much because I've had that experience. But some of that is through experience, some of that is through knowledge. But at the end of the day, the owner must be able to control their emotions because there's always here's the one guarantee: shit will go wrong.
Hmm.
It's reality. Like there is a reality that you have to almost expect that there will be problems along the way. And to the point where you do not embrace that, to the point where you do not recognize that problems will occur and problems will happen, is basically you are moving away from reality. And so I think
Right.
that it's very helpful to be able to know that problems are going to occur and handle it in that accord.
That's awesome. It's awesome advice. I told you before we got on here and we were just shooting the shit that in 2018, and I'll tell the quick version of this. In 2018, Joe came to one of your events and I opted out of coming to the event. And the reason why I opted out of coming to the event is because I felt an immense amount of overwhelm with the day to day. At that point, we had grown a single location to that, that mystical $1 million mark. But truth be told, under the hood, we were a mess. And the business was absolutely controlling us each and every day. And um, Joe made the decision to, hire you, and we went for a one-on-one consult with you and our team. And, the rest is history. We've been meeting together quarterly for the better part of the last 6 years. And Joe and I were talking about it on the way back from Michigan that decision uh, probably saved our business and definitely our business partnership, where we needed that outside perspective on our gym business to say, hey, listen, guys, like, get your head out of your asses over here and let's get refocused and realigned over here. And we needed that North Star, and we needed that person, being you at the time and still are, to just have no emotion towards our business. And, I truly believe that everybody needs a coach in order to reach that last 5 or 10% within themselves. But if you were giving advice to somebody that is really having trouble envisioning their future, or just can't get out of the day to day, or can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, what would be some tips that you would have for them outside of coming to one of your events?
Yeah, no, I think it's, really, really important to. I've had coaches and masterminds since the very beginning. I know you guys are doing that for other gyms, in the business of strength. So I can't stress that enough. But I want to answer your question, in terms of feeling stuck in the day to day. And, typically what that means is when someone's stuck in the day to day, what's happening is they have failed to kind of learn the necessary skills that they need to do to not be stuck in the day to day. And some of that comes down to your ability to lead and manage people. And the reality is, if you don't give yourself time to be able to learn how to lead and manage people, you will always be stuck. The way out is people, right? In our businesses, right? The way out is having trainers to do the work, having salespeople to do the work, hiring marketing people to do the work. The way out, which is I know what a lot of people want, is this level of freedom. If you cannot lead and manage people, if you can't recruit and hire and lead and manage people, you will always be working in your business. You will never get out. You will always be in, because there's no one else to do the work. So I think that that's like the biggest thing. It kind of goes back to the skill development piece of it. As you progress in business in these stages, you have to be able to learn the things before, but getting that fresh pair of eyes on your business is imperative. But you what you really, really need to do is be able to find the who's, find the people that can get you out of that day to day so you get the time to do it. And that's what I talk about in the Four Stages book. In the Four Stages book, I talk about that's one of the biggest problems in stage one, is that you're working so much and you're like, ah, seminar. I don't have time to go to seminar. I don't have time to go to this. I don't have time to do that. And if you never get past that point, you'll always stay in that stage. So I think that that's like the biggest thing. But yeah, I mean, what you guys are doing is phenomenal. What we're doing is great. I think it's like it's so important. I have coaches. I mean, I have, three different coaches that I work with,
Yeah. So
all from different stuff. Yeah.
who's somebody that you're drawing inspiration from at this point?
So I mean, I talk about him all the time, but you guys know the godfather of marketing is Dan Kennedy, who is someone I've been following for a really long time, but actually got the privilege to work with him one-on-one recently, which was absolutely incredible. Almost more of a nostalgic thing, for me than anything. But
Did you go to
I
the basement? Did you go to Ohio
I
or
didn't I
anything?
didn't go to the basement. I will go to the basement at some point. But it was a one-on-one coaching call and the story is funny. I had the coaching call at my mom's house because my mom has a fax machine and Dan only communicates through fax. And I was driving home from the beach and I was getting ready for the call and I wasn't sure if I had the right number to call. So I had to go to my mom's to find the faxes that he had sent with the phone number on it. So I knew which number to call. And I'm in my mom's bedroom on the phone with Dan Kennedy.
That's
It was
awesome.
absolutely classic. But no, I love Dan. There's a few other people that I follow really closely. Another guy named Keith Cunningham, who wrote what I think is the best business book ever written, which is called The Road Less Stupid. But absolutely phenomenal book. A lot of the stuff that we've done together, has been, taken, right from him, and everything like that. And of course, my good friend that is the visionary of EOS, Mark O'Donnell, who's a guy that I worked with as my consultant for 5 years. Um, I had him on my podcast recently and did a great episode with that.
Yeah,
And
I listened to that show.
yeah, Mark's a brilliant guy, and I learned EOS from him firsthand. We did, I can't even countless amount of offsites at GFP with him as I kind of got lucky that he was our guy
That's
to do
awesome.
it. Yeah.
That's cool. So, you talk a lot about people being your way out. You know, the and I know this just from working with people and just knowing so many people in the SPF, there's always such as a fixed mindset towards what people can afford. So if people are the way out, obviously one of the tools, one of the leverage tools is cash. So marketing your business, your gym business is vital to making more money. So what are some things that a fitness professional could do to market their business or learn marketing? What tactics do you think today, if you think anything's changed in 20 May of 2024, if you're starting GFP all over again, like what are you rolling your sleeves up on and diving headfirst into getting your first 100 clients or 150 clients?
Let me start with what doesn't change, right? And what doesn't change is a clear target market. Um, I just did the podcast with Anthony Rena
Mm-hmm.
right before this episode, right? And we were talking about my new small group book, and he was talking to me about marketing, and he was basically saying, that the number one thing in marketing and small group is not market small group, is to market to a specific person that would benefit from small group. And so I think that that will never change. There will never be a time where it's just like, oh, let's not have a clear target market of who we're trying to help. That is number one. Number two is that you need a clear differentiator, right? For how your business is different than the rest. And that could be communicated with a unique selling proposition that can be communicated through, your uniques or something like that. But you want to be able to, hey, what is different about this place that should make someone do business there? And then the final piece is the media, right? All the different media. This is the one that actually will change. It will never change that you don't need media to
Mm-hmm.
get the word out there. The media definitely will change over time. Um, but in terms of your question, I think that if I was a gym owner and there was one skill of marketing that I was going to hone, it would be a 100% learning how to write words that sell. And the reason why that is because you have to understand human behavior and psychology to be able to write words that sell, meaning to be able to write words that get people to be intrigued to want to reach out to your gym. And I think that it's fine to be able to be good at running Facebook ads. It's fine to be able to good, at posting stuff on social and things like that. But everything that you do for marketing will need words, whether that's words on video, whether that's words on a written word, being able to create the words that can inspire people to buy is the number one skill that I would be focused on, and that will never go away, right? That will be always be something. So that's the skill that I've honed for the last, decade, and followed really good copywriters and really, really good copywriters. They're not just good writers; they're good. They're good marketers because they understand the person, they understand who they're marketing to. And I think that there's a deeper level of knowledge that you have to go down to become good at writing those kinds of words. So if I was to suggest, and the cool thing is this can be used across any platform. If all of a sudden TikTok is the thing, right? You still need to create videos that say certain things that inspire people to buy, right? If it's email, like you still need to be able, and someone said to me today, who's reading emails these days? Well, I can tell you a lot of people are reading emails uh
Same, same.
these days, right? So I think that would be the one, and you could always hire people to, obviously that, and you're a client of Kiss Marketing, like that my marketing agency, they're the best at running ads. They're the best at, building really good websites that are direct response, style websites. But at the end of the day, if you're going to own your company and still have a hand in the marketing, I would definitely learn how to write words that sell. Now, the second one would be um, being a really good relationship person. And I know you and Joe do that phenomenally well, where you guys are great. And even though I saw, like, you're just good relationship people in general. Like I saw a picture of you, you were at Big Tom's gym
Yeah,
as of
it's
recent.
great.
But you guys just do, and the cool thing about that is you don't need a lot of marketing skills to be able to do this, right? You just really need to be a good people person, and you need to be able to care and be able to, have the mindset of, all right, what's in it for them and what are the things that they, will benefit from, and how can I deliver value to them? I think leading relationships from that point of view is really, really important. So I would say those two things. It's like learning how to write words that sell, and then being a really good relationship person and understanding that there's certain businesses in your community that have a list of people
Mhm.
that are probably all good candidates to train at your gym. And
Totally.
they've already done the hard work. They've already spent the money to build the list. All you need to do is create the relationship with them and create a synergy between the two of you to be able to for both of you to be able to benefit from that. So
Yeah, you
that's
see,
my answer.
it's a great answer. You see so many people that shy away maybe from the go giver approach or the law of reciprocity because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to compound, and you can't go do something with the expectation that you're going to receive anything back. That's not why you should be doing it in the first place. But you see certain businesses like Synergy and there's so many other businesses that are literally making a living off of in town local relationships,
Yeah.
and they can't be discredited. But that's great. The next thing I would ask you here, Vince, is you know being out at Zing Train with you, and you put me on to Ari, and I've had the good fortune of speaking with him and learning from him. You put it out there. It's like, hey, like pick up on some of the nuanced things, and something that I saw. Ari was wearing a shirt with this quote, and I asked him about it, and it says, "I'll see it when I believe it," which is the inverse quote of "I'll believe it when I see it." And when you think about that, "I'll believe it when I see it," that is a fixed mindset, right? It is a fixed mindset. And I asked him about it, and it really just comes down to the one pagers and the self belief drills. What would be a word of advice to somebody that, I know we keep coming back to, that stage one or stage two gym owner, but um, how do you how do you build self-belief, right? Like how do you do that?
So I was taught this concept from a guy named Robert Ringer, who talked about an expansive it's called an expansive mental paradigm, right? And it almost basically envision like a box, right? And inside of the box is the stuff that you believe is actually possible. right? And you think like, all right, I believe it's possible for me to be 10% body fat, right? I believe it's possible for me to run a marathon. I believe it's possible for me to be a millionaire. And there's stuff inside of your box that you believe is possible. But then there's stuff outside of that box that you do not yet believe is possible, right? And so an example would be like, let's say inside your box, I believe that my gym can do $1 million. But outside of your box is, I don't believe that my gym could do $10 million. Right. And so you have these things inside and outside of the box. And so it's called the expansive mental paradigm. And so what you need to do is you need to expand the box. You need to expand what's inside your box. You need to make that box bigger of what actually you do believe is possible. Because a lot of times, if you don't believe that you can be home by 5 o'clock every day, if you don't believe that you can have, become a millionaire, in the gym industry, if you don't believe that, then it's likely not going to happen. And so a lot of times what you need to do is you need to expand what's in the box. And sometimes what needs to happen is you need to have lived life a little bit. You need to have experienced stuff. You need to have experienced wins. You need to have experienced losses. And that experience alone will help you expand what's inside your own box of what you believe is possible. So I think that that's a great exercise for people to do. And I know we've done it. It's a good seminar exercise. We've done it before. It's like, what do you believe is possible about yourself? What do you believe is possible about your business? What is inside the box and what is outside the box? And how can you get some of that stuff that's outside of the box inside of the box? What do you need to do? What do you need to experience? What the action steps that you need to take to be able to expand what you believe is actually possible?
I need to do that drill again.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So what is it that you want in the next year or 3 years? Being somebody that has, you're helping so many other people. I'm sure that you need to sometimes take a step back and go, wow, like this is incredible what we've built, but knowing you, I know you want more. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we have a 10-year vision of helping 1,000 gyms help 1 million people. And I think that that is I, I I don't want this to sound like, terrible and like I really am enjoying the ride right now. I really am. I'm enjoying the time I get to spend. I take my son through jujitsu at 4 o'clock every day. Like I'm really enjoying the work that I get to do. And I think sometimes we get so focused on the future and we get so focused on what's next and we get so focused on we stop to miss the now. And that's something I've learned from my wife. Like my wife, Vanessa, is the most present person like I've ever met. Like she does not, I mean, sometimes it's a negative, but she does not have a care for what's happening in the future. She is like in the moment right now. And I think that that's like, because if you spend all of your time focusing on what's next and focusing on the future and focusing, I got to get to this point. I got to get to this point. It doesn't mean you're lazy, but it just really just means that um, you're not taking the time to enjoy the ride. And so I've been able to like step back and be like, I still want to grow. I still have a goal. I still have visions. I'm still pushing it, right? But I'm also really looking at the situation that I've created and and enjoying it at the time. And I think that it's like sometimes you got to know if you're ready to expand. Like you got to be like it's like some of these guys that tell me like I want 100 gyms, and I was like, you really want that? Like, is that really what you want? Like they see other people doing it, so it's like, oh, I want that too. Well, I want that too. It's like, do you? Like, so I think it's like coming back to like, what do you really want? Like a lot of times, like people come to, are you going to start, another group? You're going to do this, you can do that. It's just like, no, not right now. I will when I want to. And so I think
Mhm.
it really comes back to like, what is the life that you want? And your business is designed to help you live the life that you want. That's really what it's for. It's not to accomplish more than someone else. It's not to, be the best there ever was in the world. It's to define the life that you want to live and then create the business that helps you, live that life. And so I've taught you guys this, but one of the things that I always teach people to do is to create deal breaker rules for how you want your business to fit into your life. what are the things that you are not going to do? What are the things that you're going to do? Because it's like growth for growth's sake. It's like, why? Right? Does it fit into your life? Are you going to sacrifice? Like, there is not a business opportunity in the world that would sacrifice me getting and going at home at 4:30 and taking my son to jujitsu. There's not a business opportunity in the world that would get me in front of that. And so I think sometimes people have to, yeah, growth is great. We're pushing the envelope. It's fine. But at the end of the day, you have to really decide, how do you want your business to fit into your life, not the other way around.
That's great. The business, I've learned that over the years. I mean, business obviously is a vehicle for money and means, but it also really is, it's the autonomy of time. And as we grow as a business now, I was talking about it with Joe yesterday, is that, you know, there's a certain point in time where it's like, hey, like this this non-negotiable to be able to do something like jujitsu, or be able to take a family trip, or have flexibility within the day, can is worth more than money after you're making a certain level of income.
And it's funny, sometimes you take it for granted. Like I told my buddy's an acupuncturist, and I told him I was, like Joe asked me to go hiking rim to rim to rim the Grand Canyon 2 weeks before we were doing it. And he's like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I'm like, "Okay." And like I just took that for granted that I had the ability to be able to do that. That I had the ability to be able to, go to the CEO mastermind, get on a flight, fly to Phoenix, go do that, come home, right? And I told my buddy I was doing, he's like, "Man, that's freaking awesome." He's like, and it wasn't awesome what I was doing. What was awesome is I had the freedom to be able to do it.
Yeah,
That you've created a life that you can do stuff like that. But you're right. I think you're 100% right. Like that's worth a lot. It's worth a
right.
lot.
Now, somebody that might be hearing this, and they might say like, "Oh, that's great, Vince. It's great, Dan. You've been doing this for however long." But under the hood of what you're doing as a business right now, I know you're putting in the work. So, and I know that the decisions are, they are not easy, and the strategic fatigue, if you can call it that, is definitely real. So what are some of your non-negotiables specific to your workday, Vince?
Yeah. So like one of them for me is I write an email every day and I don't go to sleep if I don't write an email. And if it's 10 o'clock at night and I haven't written an email, I go downstairs and write an email, not because I like feel like I have to, because it's like I've ingrained that into my habitual behavior. And I was like, all right, I know that I have a list of however many thousands of people that I can write 300 to 500 words to. And that could be the opportunity that gets them to move from being on my email list to being a customer.
Mhm.
And that is an opportunity that I don't, and you're on my email list, so you see it. Like, in how many years have you ever seen me miss one? It's, if ever, right? That is a non-negotiable for me because I believe in always be making a sale, right? And always putting something out there and always kind of moving it down, the field, moving the ball down the field. So that'd be an example of one, specific business habit, um, that I always will do, and I will always, finish the day, with that done and that accomplished. Another one for me is exercise. Like every day I exercise, most of the time twice a day. And that's a non-negotiable for me. And I pushed everyone at the last mastermind that they need to work out and do something physical every damn day. That they go and they just do it. It becomes it because your health can be either be an asset or a liability, right? And I found that when my health is better, I perform better at every area of my life. And the keystone habit of my health being better is working out. And so every day, whether it's a walk, whether it's doesn't matter what it is, but I'm moving my body at least once a day. So those are two kind of, I guess what you would call non-negotiable, like habits that I've kind of ingrained in my throughout the day, if you will.
I want to be sensitive to your time because I know jujitsu's coming up. 3 o'clock here, Eastern Standard Time. But I have one more question, and it's really self-servingly just to get into your mind about industry predictions and trends for the next 5 years that could be a cause of concern or something that we need to be learning as fitness professionals over the course of the next 5 years to stay relevant.
Yeah. I, here's my answer. Like, I don't know. It's just like I think that it's such a umbrella question, and a lot of people ask me this, and I honestly, like, I always answer with, like, I'm not really sure like what the future of the fitness industry is going to be like. Here's what I do know. I do know the people that are better at operating their companies, the people that are better at building relationships with their customers, the people are better at finding and recruiting the right talent are likely going to be more successful. So whatever it is, I don't know if there's like, oh, there's one model that everyone's going to be running in 5 years. I don't think that's it. I think that the way people run their business is what either is going to make or break them. And so I think those are the things I'd be thinking about, and the skills that you need to develop as a business owner, the leadership skills, the recruiting skills, the training skills. Like, what are the things that you're going to know you're going to need if we're staying in this industry? I believe there always will be a personal service need. There will be a need for personal services, like just like there's a need, like it's like, does DoorDash make all restaurants go out of business? It's just like I don't think all restaurants are going out of business ever. There's always going to be that thing where people, and I think that personal training gyms are kind of in that same category. I think the thing that makes or breaks them is the way they run their business and the skills that they either develop or the skills that they don't develop. So it's kind of my like cop out answer of like not knowing what the future holds. I don't have a crystal ball. But I do know that I am pushing myself, I'm pushing my staff, I'm pushing the people that are running my companies, that we are going to just, one, stay in touch with the market, stay in touch with the people that are buying, know what's going on in their life, know what's changing in their life, and two, enhance our ability to create relationships with those people. And I think if we can nail down those two things, that we'll figure out the rest.
Well, I'm excited to see the growth of all your businesses, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be on this show, and thank you for being the Uncle Vinny that the Varsity House team has needed all these years. And for the people that are listening, how can a listener get in touch with you and get some of your products and speak with you?
Well, yeah, no, I'm so damn proud of both of you and Joe and the rest of the team. And the cool thing for me is I've gotten to know a lot of your team members too. As you guys have done such a phenomenal job of keeping team members for the long haul. So I've seen over the years all of your, long-term guys I've gotten to know and seen them at all these different events. So I can't speak highly for the job that you guys are doing as leaders, you and Joe, the businesses that you're creating, the things that you guys are doing. It's just, I feel very proud of both of you.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
I think that the best thing for people to do is, they can either go to my website, which has a bunch of stuff on there, vincegabriel.com. But my latest book, at the time you re-release this, my latest book should be ready. Um, and they can get a free copy of the book at smallgrouppersonaltraining.com.
Nice. Okay, I'll put
The
that in
free,
the
yeah,
in
put
the
the link in the
notes.
show notes, but it's a my new book is called The Ultimate Guide to Small Group Personal Training, which I know is a model that you guys
Yep.
um shifted from. You were doing large group when you started, and now it's mostly small group. And I think you guys have a case study in the book, actually.
Yeah, we made the
Um,
cut. We made the
yeah,
cut.
you made the cut. Yeah, yeah.
Nice, cool.
But yeah, no, it's a good resource, and I think it'll be good for everyone that either doing it or wants to do it. But you guys have been phenomenal people in our world, and we appreciate you guys so much.
Thanks so much, Vince. This is the business of strength, everyone. See you next time.